Welcome to the Good Karma Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm your host, Captain Ryan Van Fleet, and we have a special guest here today. You guys know I don't do a lot of guest interactions on the podcast, but I feel that you guys are going to really, really love this episode. So I have with me Krissy Wejebe, and I'm just I can't even begin to say anything because I'm super excited actually to speak with somebody that I've admired for many, many years. And she is the daughter of the late Jose. And most of you guys that are listening know who Jose is. So I'm just going to get started here today. And I am a little nervous here, to be honest with you guys, because I'm speaking with somebody that I have they say never to meet your heroes, but I have to say that between Krissy and Jose, these are two people that have inspired me to be the person that I am in the fishing industry today, and to get into this industry and to keep me going through tough times, even where I'm at and today with my business. And if I need a little pick me up, I pull up and watch one of Jose's old episodes of the Spanish Fly. So thank you for joining today, Krissy. I really appreciate it. So
Aw, Brian. Well, thank you for having me. Um, I guess I'll kind of jump into it like you told me to, right?
yeah, we're just gonna keep
Uh,
things going the way, and be pretty relaxed and chill. And I'll try to get over my little nervousness here because I am nervous, I'll be honest with you guys. So, but so we have a lot to cover in today's podcast. So I really just wanted to start off talking about your foundation.
yeah. So for those who might be listening who don't know who Jose Wejebe was, he had a fishing show on ESPN2 and the Outdoor Channel for 17 years. It still is. Rated the number one saltwater fishing show that ever was, and he passed away back in April of 2012 in a he was the only one on the plane, and that was in Everglades City, April 6th of 2012, so coming up on 14 years now. um, since he passed, we started a memorial foundation. It's called the Jose Wejebe Spanish Fly Memorial Foundation. And our mission is to honor Jose's legacy by matching his passion for conservation, education, and making fishing dreams come true. So, what that means, essentially, our big project is we bring people fishing down here in the Keys. We've got a good group of locals that we've started to establish, because living in the Keys, it is, although it is stunningly beautiful, it is super expensive. And, for the women who work as the lunch ladies at the cafeterias and the wait staff at your local breakfast joint, uh, fishing's an expensive sport. And to see kids, local kids that really show an interest in it, but really don't have the means to get into the sport, we try to provide that opportunity, with our local kids in the Florida Keys of like, hey, you have an interest in fishing? Let's take you out. Let's see if this is something you like. And we do that for quite a few of our local kids, especially local foster kids too. Um, we have worked with veterans. We have worked with sick families. We did a bunch of trips for Make a Wish in the beginning. I think we did 14 trips for them, and we actually granted their 9,000th wish. They chose us to partner with to grant their 9,000th wish. And I think that was only in our third year of having the organization.
Wow.
Um, so really, we say life impacting challenges, Ryan. My dad was never hyper focused on one specific cause. He just had a very generous heart, whether it was, the guy who cleaned his boat, his boat sunk. My dad would try and get him a deal on, a new pair of Mercuries, or, sell him a pair that he didn't need anymore. Or cancer kids, veterans. It was his big thing is like, whoever needs my help the most at that point in time, that's who I'm going to help. So, um, while that was great for him as an organization, you kind of want to have like, especially for your donors and your audience that you're trying to reach, like, what exactly is it that you guys do? We say life impacting challenges. So we make fishing dreams come true for people with life impacting challenges. Um, we fund and coordinate the whole thing. So if you're coming from out of town, we figure out all the logistics, and then when that time that you're not on the water actually fishing, we try to incorporate conservation and educational aspects on those trips, where we're not just sending them on like, hey, let's go on a jet ski or something like that. They're going to coral reef farms where they're learning about how scientists are figuring out faster ways to replant corals out on a lot of our reefs. That if you go snorkeling on a lot of our reefs lately, it's my kids will think it's absolutely beautiful. It breaks my heart because they have changed so much from what I remember. So, to going to places like Dolphin Research Center and teaching these kids and veterans and families about the cognitive and behavioral research that they do, going to Turtle Hospital, and, just kind of educating them about our oceans and about our ecosystems. So, while it is absolutely a fun vacation, they actually bring something home with them too. And at the end of the day, Ryan, I really feel like experiences like this is what starts to trigger the next generation of um, watermen, anglers, conservationists, and people who just want to really understand Mother Nature instead of just like bastardize it, for lack of a better way of putting it. Um, and to date, we've done, gosh, we're coming up on like 600 individuals that we've brought out on the
Okay.
water. We have 3 groups of foster kids coming down in June. And we also have a pediatric cancer family and 2 military families all coming down in June.
Okay.
Because we are such a small organization, it's me and one other woman. Um, and with like the fundraising season that we have, and then just different, like, I'm a single mom of 2 boys, making sure I'm present for my children. We kind of have like our fundraising season, which we have our music festival in February at Boondocks. Then we have our Fish for Jose backyard dinner party in March. And then we have our shark tournament in April. Um, so I try to do everything kind of in groups. So it keeps me more focused versus kind of being spread a little too thin, trying to do too many different things at the same time.
Same time. Understood. Yeah, it's like down in the Keys, it's like or anywhere you always are trying to you're especially when you're just starting out too, and you're wearing all these different hats and making sure everything gets done on time and
Yeah.
all that good stuff. So no, it's and how many now with the foundation, how many events a year do you have? It seems like you have them, their seasonality events. I think there's 4 or 5 events per year.
Um, yeah, we have 3 in-person events a year.
Okay.
Um, and we are looking at switching around some of the dates, possibly for the shark tournament. Um, because man, spring just keeps getting windier and windier. I mean, today
Yeah.
is beautiful. But um one of the um one of the people that I've been working with, um with Outdoor America and the new Spanish fly show, which I know we'll talk about later. Um, he actually worked with my dad and met my dad doing the Redbone tournament series.
Okay.
And he was like, Krissy, the red bone was always in the summertime. It was always during like I have a big thing of like planning things during hurricane season. Like I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And he's like, yeah, but the weather is so much better. And he is slowly starting to sell me on that one because, just especially now that the shark tournament is televised too. Um, it makes it makes for easier television. You can't throw the drone up when it's, blowing 25, 30.
Right.
And really, those summer slicked out days where you can't tell where the ocean ends and the sky begins. I mean, you'll get a handful of days like that um, in the early spring and maybe a few in the winter, but summertime, it it is pretty it is pretty stunning out here.
Yes. Yeah. And I used to watch the Redbone on television, and they
Hmm.
did some epic footage, and it was just like watching a any sort of major sporting event, and the way that they track the anglers. So it's always fun to watch, and that's similar to what this tournament is. It's the tagging and the bonus points and the offshore and the inshore and all that stuff that goes hand in hand with the fly versus the rod and reel catches and points.
Yeah, yeah. So we have extra points for fly. We didn't incorporate tagging this year, and I'll tell you why. It was off of the advice from several scientists that I spoke with.
Okay.
And the problem with tagging during a tournament, not having like a dedicated scientist to do the tagging, is sometimes you can run into speed tagging
Okay.
where if they're doing I'm gonna blank on the name. uh there's one kind of tag that it's kind of like a zip tie that goes right into their fin and it more or less identifies the shark, but it's not an acoustic pinger. It doesn't have any GPS on it or anything
Okay.
like that. Because those are hundreds of dollars.
Right.
And I don't have hundreds of dollars to go and buy tags for that. So with this, really what we're doing is, it's a big group of boats um, that's going out and fishing, and essentially a lot of these sharks follow the tarpon migration. So there are a decent amount of sharks during this time. And just we provide, where the fish was caught, if we can sex it, the water temperature, just to get an idea of like how many sharks is being caught in just this limited time window. Because at the end of the day, uh, like we want to start collecting some sort of data. Um, to be able to deliver to the scientists, and hopefully we can get it to a point where BTT will be able to put their own scientists on each boat when a shark's catch or shark's caught, or have like a boat that can run around the flats that when they have a shark on, they can go and tag it properly. But we just didn't want to get into speed tagging and having them like mishandle the sharks in the wrong way, and they ended up getting a tag like through their forehead and not on their fin.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool. And then now can you share a little bit about the bracelet, like the catch and reel, like the point systems with the bracelet, as far as,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's cool. I like that.
yeah. So I wanted to do. My dad had produced a show well, not a couple years ago. It's been a while now. The Madfin Shark Tournament, which was on ESPN 2, and that was a made-for-TV tournament. And you could measure the boat. There was a helicopter flying around
Yeah, I
essentially to all the
remember watching that.
boats.
That was
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah. And they just hold the fish alongside the boat, and they could measure it, but all these boats were outfitted with the proper rulers and stuff like that to do a made for TV tournament. With this tournament, people are just using their own boats. So, not expected to have a giant ruler on the side of your boat, like, the Quiznos boat that was used on the Mad Fin tournament. Um, so there's this website, Web Pro Tournament X, and um, you can do video submissions now. So all we really require is, the shark has to be, leader in hand, and we needed like a key identifier per day. Like, how are we going to identify that this fish was caught on this day? That Ryan hasn't just been taking pictures of bulls, lemons, and black tips for the past year, stocking them up into his, a special little folder, and he's going to upload all of those the day of the tournament. Um, we did have like a key word, but people are writing it down and they're trying to get like, okay, this is an offshore, here's a bull shark. You want to make sure that um, you can see the face of the bull shark and its pectorals, so it doesn't get confused with a sandbar shark because they have longer pectorals. And then they're trying to get this piece of paper in there at the same time. So it's just like a lot going on, like while you're
Yeah.
handling a massive animal. Um, and me being a 90s kid, and I have children of my own now, um, slap bracelets. So I was like, oh, we can just have different colored slap bracelets for each day. And, you'll get a text in the morning, what color slap bracelet is today, wear that. And then also, if it gets wrapped up in anything, it's a slap bracelet. It'll just come right off.
Yeah.
So, it's already on your wrist. So if you have leader in hand, it's right there. It's not like you're trying to get it. And it's a video submission. So you can kind of like pan down to get all of it at the same time.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't require essentially, the guy holding the leader, the guy holding the rod, the guy taking the picture, and another person like trying to take the picture with the piece of paper in it that has the word of the day. Like, if it can just be on something that's not going to get wrapped up and have you lose your hand at the same time, let's try and do that. And then we also included additional points for people who want to try on fly, because my dad was, he was really good at all kinds of fishing that he did. Um, but he very much loved fly fishing. And I would just love to see, how like our key deer down here in the lower keys. Um, I know you're a little bit more north, Ryan, but you ever come down to Big Pine? The key deer walk right into Walgreens there. They have no fear of humans whatsoever. Um, you go anywhere else in the United States, a deer sees you and they're like, they might shoot me. I'm going to get out of here. What if we kind of started putting more pressure on sharks, started targeting them more, and, maybe over a long period of time, it's obviously not going to happen overnight, but maybe they start to learn, okay, maybe not every struggling fish is just that. Like, maybe they're also trying to get me in the boat too. Like, maybe, so to kind of put a little bit more pressure on sharks. And let's face it, most of the time you can always catch a shark down here, when a lot of other fishing is bad. So, um, I've seen it happen with the kudas and the flats fishermen. They definitely have done a great job at, putting a little bit of pressure on them to kind of alleviate a little bit of pressure on some of the other flats sport fish that we have around here.
Yes.
But um, I'm interested to see. We're going to have one of the scientists from BTT who's been doing a lot of research. His name's Jose. He's been doing a lot of research in Key Largo,
Okay.
specifically with lemon sharks. So he's going to come down and share what some of his research findings on, like, are these adult animals? Are they habitual offenders? Does it so I'll be curious to see like what kind of research that they've gained from that, because at the end of the day, when you talk about any kind of shark regulations and stuff, I feel like my dad would be very much on the, well, what does the data say? What does science say? Are there more fishermen that are ever on the water that have ever been on the water at any point in time? Are we catching more fish? Um, how much are sharks coming in? I know they're worse in other areas, and I know there's arguments on both sides. Um, but at the end of the day, I feel like we just lack a lot of concrete scientific research to really say, okay, yes, let's implement more commercialization of shark fishing. Or, like, no, let's not do that. Because for so many years, commercial fishermen would just report their bycatch. And that was what NOAA would use as like their stats monitoring for, um, how many how many sharks are in our waters. That's not really like a good way to do it. You're just recording dead ones that commercial fishermen are finding on their
Right.
long lines. So,
No, I'm with you on that. And I would, I think that's looking at the whole thing, I can like has a guide perspective and somebody that sees that. I personally take that philosophy of like, hey, if I'm fishing a spot, I'm good one day. If I have a couple sharks move in, we are going to hook those fish and we're going to make sure that they're hooked. And we took that philosophy when we had the barracuda issues. We never killed the barracudas.
hmm,
We made sure that they knew that they were hooked. That means we brought them to the boat and we released them. And then over
yeah,
time, the barracudas did go away and they just left you alone because they knew. And
yeah,
and that's the approach that I take with shark fishing.
yeah,
I make sure that we hook them, we bring them to the top, and probably about if and it just depends on how many are there and how, like for myself, I want the clients to catch them. I get wore out after one or two fish. I'm done. I gotta have some help. So we got to bring those fish to the boat.
yeah. Give them a good look in the eyes.
Yep.
Give them a
And you got to
talking
make
to.
and you got to say, hey, you're caught. And you got to make sure that they know that they're caught because sometimes they don't even know. So you bring them up and you get the hook out of them and you release them.
Yeah.
So and I found that works fairly. I found that works for myself. And then if I get to a point where it's just too much on an area, I just got to abort it and leave it.
Hmm.
I just have to say it's done. There's no sense. I can't go in and do anything about it because I can't win. So, but what that does for me as a fisherman, I think fishermen get very relaxed on certain areas that they fish. If you keep going back to the same areas as a fisherman, that doesn't make you a very good fisherman. So I think the sharks have actually helped me in a way because they've got me out of my comfort zone and forced me into new areas.
Hmm.
And I look at it like that. I really do. And some of the areas that I fish now or where I'm at, I probably wouldn't have advanced if it wasn't for some of those issues that I had with some sharks. I would have
Yeah.
just been comfortable going out to the same wreck, catching a few fish, and then but what's the fun in that? There's always got to be a little bit of a challenge for me, for myself and for most guys that really want to like keep getting better. And the shark has actually helped me in that area. It's kind of like my thing. You have to do this now, and I'm going to force you to do it. So,
Right.
but
Right.
I think that's a I think that your philosophy, and I think that that's probably how your dad would look at it. I really do. I think it's
Yeah. Well, my dad. very much understood animal behavior.
Yep.
Um, he um, One of his first jobs was collecting tropical fish for Miami Seaquarium,
Oh, really? Okay.
and that's where he met my mom. My mom was a dolphin and orca trainer there,
Okay.
and one of her boss saw my dad in the tank, and he had trained uh, Goliath and a moray eel, like how to swim around him and how to swim in between his legs by just like giving them a hand signal. Like he could just go like this and they would, swim around him in a circle, or, they'd target on his hand and go in between his legs. And they're like, wait, this little brown boy doesn't mind getting wet and he knows what he's doing. Like, all right. So they started to incorporate my dad into the shows and stuff like that. And he was, if somebody ever dropped their phone, well, they didn't have, no, nobody dropping their phone back then, dropped their wallets or their sunglasses, because this was the 70s,
Yeah, yeah.
into the tanks. My dad would always be the one to jump right in. And um, he moved up fast there and he started working with dolphins. So being an animal trainer, uh, he very much understands their behavior, and like why they do what they do, why they eat the way they eat, why you fish for them this way. um because he really did spend a lot of time underwater kind of taking all of that in.
Yeah. That's yeah, that's amazing, really. If you think about the whole like the start of, that's what makes a really good fisherman is just a well-rounded person that understands like the environment.
Hmm.
I think that's for myself, that's what really drew me to the show and the whole, it wasn't just about that fishing part of it. It was about everything, and it was like even just like that little hum of the guitar was like your mind was just like that was you could be
Hmm.
anywhere and then all of a sudden you'd hear that. You could be in a noisy bar and all of a sudden you'd hear it, and then you would be like you're all of a sudden your head would gravitate towards the TV. Somewhere
Yeah.
it would grab you. So, but no, that is very cool, and I really do think that with where we're at in today's shark, that great debate I call it. If any of you are listening, please go back and re-listen again, and I encourage you guys that are into shark fishing and thinking about like your tournament fishermen, especially. I know a lot of you guys that listen participate in shark tournaments and stuff. I really encourage you to get some information and it's still not too late to sign up for the shark tournament, is it, Krissy? I mean,
No, keywestsharktournament.com. um Captain's meeting is April 2nd. So you can register there at the Key West Yacht Club, the one on Roosevelt, not the one in Stock Island. Um, and or you can just go right to keywestsharktournament.com and vote through there, or register through there. Um, we still got a few slots left, and the film crew's coming down, and yeah, we're just really excited. It was one of their number one specials that they had on Outdoor America, which Outdoor America recently merged with Field and Stream. And like Eric Church and Morgan Wallen are some of the big investors behind all of it.
okay.
So I think this will be, we have more resources this year. So I'm excited to see what 2026, what comes out of this, for the show, and for the new Spanish Fly Next Gen that's going to be coming out here soon in the third quarter.
Yeah, I really want to dive into that a little bit because it's the Spanish Fly was still like the number one watched sport fishing show on
Yeah.
record. And I'm excited for I just, like I'm excited about this. So can you tell us a little bit more about the little preview about what can we expect?
Yeah, yeah. So I think the easiest way to explain it is, the first episode of Spanish Fly that ever was my dad and his best friend Terry Cassidy, and they were shark fishing in the Keys. Um, so Terry, Terry and our co-host James Marco and our other co-host Carson Rickart um, went shark fishing with Terry Cassidy, and it's about 12 minutes of old content and 10 minutes of new content, and they just kind of cut back and forth telling the story about my dad. Um, some of it will feature guests that were on the show in the past, and um, some episodes will highlight some of like the new upcomers that are coming up in the fishing industry. Because my dad definitely did that. Um, he I remember Flip told me one time, he's like, "Well, your dad never had me on his show." And I was like, "Well, Flip, he probably, well, number one, didn't want to get outfished by you. Number two, probably didn't think that you needed it." He's like, "Yeah, that's true." But, my dad was always kind of bringing in like some of the new up and comers on the show. And, we see some of those people that have their own shows now, not because, not just because of him, but, gave him that first exposure to the television world. So we're going to kind of do a little bit of that too. The 20 somethings, 30 somethings that grew up watching my dad's show, uh, but watching it with their parents, but same concept of like 10 minutes of old footage or 12 minutes of old footage, 10 minutes of new footage. And, just doing anything from like talking about like how things changed, how they stayed the same, um, and kind of match like the theme of each episode of the old episode with the new one that they're shooting for the day.
Yeah, that kind of, that's what I'm super excited about is like looking, I think when I see like the past and present together merging, that's going to be very unique to see.
Yeah,
It's something that I really don't think's been done. So, especially
at
with
least not in the fishing industry.
not in the fishing industry.
Yeah,
And that's going to make it like that's going to make it really cool. It's kind of like that old 90s vibe versus the present vibe, and that's kind of where I look, I'm a 90s
yeah. I mean,
guy.
how many people would love to go back to the 90s at this point right now?
I know. I know. And this leads me to a good question that and when I'm out there, because I really for myself, when when my wife and I were laid off back in it was um in 2009, my wife and I, were both laid off at the same time. And I started watching Spanish Fly when I was in college. And I watched every season multiple times. And even all throughout those years and when I was in the corporate world, I still went back and watched. And when we were both laid off, he gave me a sense of hope that I could start over. And he was part of the biggest inspiration. For when my wife and I moved down here, we didn't know anybody, and we didn't know anybody. We'd never been here. I was down here in 93 on a spring break, and I remember getting out of the truck and I saw Islamorada for the first time and all the boats going out. I was like, man,
That'd be cool.
that'd be cool. And then I started watching your dad, and I was like, that was it, and it was more about like the 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 how to, the whole vibe of the show, and just really was an inspiration for myself and how I run my charters today and the educational part of it. So when I'm out there fishing, sometimes I'll think to myself, and I know a lot of other guys are like this, and said, what would Jose think of today's culture with all the tech, all the YouTube influence? You know, just getting from your perspective, what do you think that what do you think your dad would think of the culture that we're in today with fishing?
I think part of him would say, you know what really grinds my gears? Like, he couldn't stand when people didn't wave. Nobody waves anymore. Like
You're right.
when you're
Oh
going
my
by
God,
on the
I never even
boat,
thought about that, but they don't.
nobody waves anymore. Like you give them, you're crossing a flat, in the same canal. Hey man, how's your day? Or, you're cruising, like acknowledge, continue. And it really, it drove him crazy. And like I grew up with it driving him crazy. So now it really drives me crazy. Um, just like like so much of the humanity of um of fishing has kind of been like sucked out. I don't know. And I think that goes across like pretty much everything. Like we can say whatever we want to on social media, but you get face to face and, you know, people don't even know how to communicate anymore. Um, I, as far as, and like here's one example. Like somebody had asked me, have you ever seen the pictures of all the yellowfin tuna that they used to catch in Key West back in the
Yes.
90s?
I
Yeah.
remember watching an episode with your dad. It was an older episode, but he used to go out and catch those yellowfins back in the day.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't think he ever did an episode on that in Key West. That might have been in Venice. But I have some old footage of like
Old footage
him
of it.
and
Yeah.
yeah, him and one of his buddies doing
Yeah.
that. And listen, like Kenny Harris, Robert Trossett, uh, Ralph Delph, my dad, like, the 80s, 90s offshore, guides would all like sit up in one spot in Key West and they would just dump pilchards and dump pilchards. And then they started catching these massive tuna. There's no way in hell you'd ever see offshore fishermen work together like that these days. Like it just doesn't happen anymore. Um, so I mean, hey, I don't I certainly not dialed into every place in the world, but uh if you're on a separate boat, you're in competition. It's not like, hey, let's work together to get, you know, fish who are in this massive ocean and you're just this one teeny tiny little vessel. Like nobody really works together the way that they used to. As far as all the tech stuff goes, um, what would he think about forward facing sonar and stuff? I mean, it's just another point of view compared to your fish finder, which is down. Um, but then there were like always some things that my dad was very traditional about, like when CV was trying to get him to put quads on his CV. And my dad was like, no, I will never put quads on he's like, I said okay to triples, but there's no point in putting quads on there for what I do. It doesn't make sense for me. So like my dad had kind of like a limit on what made sense and then what's just like overkill. Like, hey, look at me. I have uh I don't know, what's that? I have 300,000. How much does a Mercury 350 go for now?
Oh gosh, at least like a 350, I think anywhere between 35 and 40 right now.
Yeah, yeah, like, oh, look at me. I have $120,000 powered up on the back of my boat. Ha ha ha, me man. Like my dad didn't care about that stuff. And he honestly, like, they had to push him on the triples versus like, he's like, I'm fine with twins. Um, so, you know, I don't know, forward facing. I feel like if he was going lobstering or something and, he was getting older and wanted to make it an easier day. But, um, you know, um, the technology's there to help us be better fishermen, but does it just make us more lazy too at the same time?
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
yeah, it's an interesting topic. I look at it like this too. I'm like, you you can have all that stuff, but you still have to, you still have to catch the fish, That's the way it's always good to have some tools uh,
Yeah.
and there's just going to be days when, it's just it helps. I think that for myself, I have never used it. I don't have it. Not to say that I won't. But and it's just like another way to look at a sonar, in other words.
Yeah.
So that's always how I look
Yeah.
at it. So
you know it's I mean, you still have to give them the right bait. You still have to move it the way that they have to move it in order.
yeah,
And like, it's 50% experience and like 50% luck.
yeah,
You can use another tool to find that fish. You still got to get them to bite.
right.
um you know Now, if there's like a automatic, like, camera magnet to fish hook kind of thing, where, all right, drone deploy, go hook this fish for me now, like, okay. But forward facing sonar, I've used it once when we went striper fishing, um in Maine, and it was pretty cool to be able to be like, whoa, look at those. But there was just fish everywhere at that point. But it
Yeah.
was cool to see them like on a different screen from a different angle.
Yeah. No, I totally get it.
uh
That's how I look at it. It's just something different to look at. And for myself, if it gives me a little bit of an edge and catching a fish for a client, especially, then I look at it like, hey, it's part of the gig. So, but I like I said, I've never even seen it in action, to be honest with you, except on TV, so or on YouTube
yeah.
or whatever. I've never seen it work. So I
Yeah.
can't honestly say whether it would help me or
Yeah.
not. So that's a true statement. So
Yeah. Because what do you primarily do? Inshore, offshore stuff?
mostly I do wreck and reef fishing, and
Okay.
and then it depends on seasonality. Mostly it's I do a lot of wahoo trolling. I don't do too much live bait fishing anymore. It's mostly only when I'm wreck and reef fishing, and then trolling wahoo trolling, and then the dolphin fishing in the summer. So
Yeah.
think I still what I found is I've also found that there's been a kind of a shift in what people like to do, which surprises me. It's like um, how we used to do a lot of yellowtail fishing as a charter boat captain. Now
Mhm.
um, I get clients that message me and said we don't want to do that. So I'm like, that was the shift I seen in like 6 years ago. I started seeing a major shift in that. And I'm not sure if why that went down or if that was too
Are people just seeing the bigger fish that are out there and
I
that's what they
think
want to go for?
yeah, and I think too that a lot of people thought that yellowtail fishing was too easy. And I was like, well, there is no fish that's too easy because you can, as a guide, if you're making it look really easy, then you're doing your job and you're like you've done all
Right.
everything. And then I think people thought over the years that we were trying to pull the wool over their eyes because it was too easy. So sometimes when it's too easy, a client looks at it, well, this is too easy. We got to make this a little harder. That's, type
Right.
of thing. So I just saw a shift in that over the past few years. So um, that's an amazing fish, one of my absolute favorite fish, and that's how I started in the industry was yellowtail fishing, charters and groupers,
Hmm.
then moved up the ranks in learning and how to catch fish more consistently. So But it's just it's I see little changes. I'm curious to see if you see changes as well as far as that kind of thing goes. As the shift in the socials of like how uh, you know people that are coming up into fishing now versus people that were coming up into fishing, in during the 90s.
Um, I think like I don't know. I mean, there's definitely a lot more. I think the biggest shift that I've seen here in the Keys is there's um a lot of people who used to be clients that have moved to the Keys and now they want to fish on their own.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's kind of like one of the biggest shifts that I've seen because I mean, here in the lower Keys, I drive through Selah, no ma'am. Um, through a lot of these neighborhoods, and when the snowbirds are gone, like these houses are empty. Um, and there's not nearly as many families that are down here that were here when I grew up. Um, which I'm 42 now, so um it's definitely, and everything's become more expensive. A lot of guides are finding like, some of these more wealthy people that made their money and, you know, um, finance management or selling steel or, the not fun corporate jobs that uh, those of us in the Keys try to steer away from at all
Mhm.
costs. Um, they're kind of helping out some of like the new upcoming fishermen, like, hey, let me teach you the business side of it. Let me, help you, show you like this is how many trips you need to run in order to make this amount of money. Like, bring in the business aspect for them because there's so much more that goes into fishing that once was. I mean, with any business, you need a website, you need social media, and it's
Yes.
like, it's like a whole nother job. So I think with people starting to see like on social, like, wait, there was that, you know, they were catching wahoo offshore. Like, what were we doing catching mangroves off the reef? Oh, there's sailfish going off. Like, why aren't we doing that? Like, maybe more people are seeing what else is out there too. So they're like, no, I want to get my money's worth. We're not just going to go yellowtailing all day.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
that, yeah, I think that's been kind of, the change is that I've seen. Um, and as for myself, and I see that and I'm like, I have to explain to them, that, if you're going to go sport fishing, there's sport fishing. It involves sometimes a lengthier hunt than you want. So I have to remind them of the movie magic that people watch on YouTube now. So we
yeah,
have to, I think that's where, I've had to educate a lot of younger kids on movie magic. And at the end of the day, the parents, well, we didn't get on them right away. Then the parents will step in, which really helps. They said, well, we have to educate you on movie magic, and this is how long it takes to sometimes to make things happen in those movies and videos that you see is that there's a lot of editing
sure.
that takes place to make it look like, you're catching those fish right away. So,
Yeah, 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 for sure.
so and I think that's a big part of where we're at today is just educating the younger kids on, hey, this is how it works. Um, when it comes to watching videos on YouTube versus going out and actually doing it. And because a lot of the kids don't get to fish a lot, and they come down, they watch a
Mhm.
lot of videos, they see a lot of yellowtailing, and you'll, and then what'll happen is, and then when the fishing stops, they'll wonder, well, what happened? We didn't, because they're so focused on watching all the YouTube videos, and they don't see the space between, I
Yeah,
call it. They don't see the conversations that we have on the boat, and knowing that sometimes that space between is, I always say, the space between the bite is where you make the connection to the water and to your,
Yeah.
and that's very important to myself, is that quiet when in between the bite, because you're
Hmm.
processing things, you're educating, and I think that educating folks on it's okay to have the space between, because if you don't have it, then you're missing that whole magic of what your dad would say.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So many people are used to just like instant gratification, which, I find like some of the best times I like talk to my kids and, get them to talk about hard stuff because my husband died when I was 3 months pregnant with my youngest one.
yeah,
So, it's a topic that we don't talk about every day, but like everybody knew who had the dead dad in school growing up. So it comes up with his friend, with their friends. And so it's a beautiful setting to have like some of those harder conversations with your family. Um, it's it's a good space. I find when we're doing trips like through the foundation where a lot of our military will like let their guard down and actually like start really talking to you about like the trauma and why they can't sleep at night. Um, or, having a little kid look at his mom and being like, Mommy, is this the last time we're ever going to go fishing? And, you have to watch a mother shake her head, yes. And, that was with Daryl, and he died 2 months after his fishing trip with us. So, like um, to be able to be such a special part of such a like some of these individuals like best memories, um to know that I had the smallest part of being able to put that together for them. um it really helps it's really helped me kind of navigate my grief in my own way. And you also get a community of people who have been through stuff like I have as well. So it gives, it's the foundation has definitely like helped me in a lot of ways that um I didn't really expect, because we're focused on helping so many other individuals, but it's really given me perspective on a lot of things. It's really given me individuals where I can lean on them and they can lean on me. And you do some of your best bonding on the water. There's just something about, I don't know, not being in a room with walls. You're out on the ocean and it kind of drops, people kind of uh, open up a little bit more out there. So, um, that's one of the biggest things I love about, being able to spend time out there, whether it's with family or these foundation kids or whatever the case is.
yeah, that's awesome. That's you're totally that's it. You kind of made my heart think. Yeah, it's
And I'm sorry I had to put my sunglasses on because
no,
I was doing
yeah,
my resting bitch face and I'm like,
that's so funny. You're- Oh my gosh. So yeah, we've talked a lot, and I know that a lot of people, it's just, I really, it's like for myself, sometimes I lose my way. I feel that way, and the only thing that really kind of grounds me is going back and watching your dad on TV. That's my thing. It's like I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna watch an episode, because
yep,
that gets me back to why I do what I
yep,
do. And
yep,
you get caught up in the world, you get caught up in this era of what we have now, and it really has brought me back to, you get, I just if I'm going through something with this in the fishing industry or I have something going on, honestly, I sit down and watch an episode. It just
I
grounds
love that.
it just grounds me to be know why the hell I do this in the first place.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And
So,
he just had a way of like just talking to the camera and just being like, um, he showed you the beauty of all of it, but then he also showed you how as well.
yes.
And why. It wasn't like, you know, here's this black and purple lure. Why do you use this one? Oh, because it's the getter one. Why is it the getter one? It just works every time. Okay. Versus like my dad would have said, like, well, if you're under the water and you're looking up, you know, through the water and the sun's reflecting down, that bait fish, when it flashes, it can flash like a black and purple sometimes, which attracts the other, the wahoo, sailfish, whatever fish you're trying to target offshore. He doesn't just say, "Oh, it's the getter," because every time I put it in there, it gets them. Like, okay, like he actually explained it to you. It wasn't just a watch me fish show. It was like, hey, come with me. Let me show you how to do this on your own. And I think a lot of people really appreciate that. It's not like he was sitting there telling you, like, all right, we're gonna fish this part on this tide. Here are the GPS coordinates. But like he gave you enough to like, here, here's enough for you to go and do it on your own, kind of thing.
Yep.
So, um, no, and he definitely, like, whenever I'm in a poo-poo mood, um, you know, very, very similar. I just walk outside and I'm like, you know, I hear Gaza's a pretty terrible place to be. Like,
Yeah.
what am I complaining about? Like, today may have been a hard day, but at the end of the day, like, I've got Um, I've got water, I've got my kids, I've got my health, I've got my family. Like, we'll figure it out. And just keep on trucking.
Keep on moving. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's the word for it? It's like when you get out, like when you go out outside down here, or sometimes just going, like you could be anywhere, inside your house in northern Minnesota. You just get outside and you find some water. Like, and that was it. Just go, like, get out, go
Yeah.
for a drive and just sit and look. It always seems to make you feel a little bit better. And that's
Yeah.
like what your dad calls like was the magic of the water. And that was like,
Hmm.
that was it. And he was right. And he was like, it's something about it. And when you actually see it work, like, yeah, when you actually see that the magic does really happen, like,
Yeah.
like I had it happen 2 days ago. We were like, these guys that had a group of great guys and they really wanted to catch a wahoo and the conditions weren't all that great, and then it was 4:30 and we caught one. And I looked at him and I was like, it's magic. And so it's time to go home. And when you actually see it happen and time again, you actually really do know that it is magic and it just something just happens. There's
Yeah.
things possible out there. And that's what I really do believe like your whole foundation of what you started gives people hope. It like gives people to know that magic happens and it can come from anywhere. So and the water is the best way for people to believe. It really does something to you.
Yeah.
So um, I think it's just amazing, really. So,
Well, thank you, Ryan.
um, so I think we'll kind of wrap it up. I got one more question, and this one I want to say if there's a lot of new guides coming in now that like they don't know who your dad is, and they probably will after a lot of these guys that are listening will go to YouTube. They're going to start searching because the level of knowledge in the videos and the level of nuggets that he drops along the way in the fishing world is literally insane. And
Yeah.
and what would be if your dad would look and somebody coming into the fishing world now, what do you think his best piece of advice to a new guy would be? Like coming from,
Uh,
and it's an unfiltered, you say what you need to say. Like,
Go make your money in fishing and then come over to the saltwater side.
exactly.
um, no, it's just funny because I wasn't in the fishing world at all when my dad was alive. And now, just knowing like how much freshwater gear costs compared to saltwater gear versus how much professional bass fishermen make versus professional saltwater fishermen, it's like, well, you could not bang up your body, retire by 40 and then move to the Keys and do the real manly fishing. But what do I think he would tell? Um, you know, I I really would love just for like the humanity aspect of like, be kind to your fellow fishermen passing by the water. If he's fishing in your chum slick, don't pull a gun at him. You know, hey bro, fishing in my chum slick. I don't know if you know how this works, but blah blah blah. Oh shoot, sorry man. I'll go ahead and re-anchor over here. Just like I don't know, the ability to have um, a conversation without it turning super confrontational. Because I see so much of that out on the water. Somebody gets somebody they're at the sandbar and they leave their boat there for too long, and instead of offering to help, they're just sitting there videoing with their camera instead of like trying to get them to push the boat out a little bit, or um, I just we're so disconnected in so many ways. Like I would love to see kind of like the um because I really do think um Americans have more in common with each other than we think that we do. um and just like kindness, like he was always a very kind and curious and genuine human being. And if you could just like roll a little bit of that into some aspect of your life, like your life would be more peaceful. At least fingers crossed. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think
um
that's good.
yeah, I mean, that's like at least that's how I try to do it in my house. And I have a 9-year-old boy and a 6-year-old boy. So we try to lead with kindness as much as we can, but then sometimes mom's got to break out the spoon and everybody's scared. So that doesn't always work. So um I do tell my kids like, hey guys, let's lead with kindness. Yeah, but he just kicked me in the head, mom, 5 times. All right, we'll go get the spoon. But and Ryan, I don't know, like wishful thinking, but I mean, that's what I'd especially our little Keys community. I just hate seeing so many people divided over if it's spots, mini season, sharks, permit. Like at the end of the day, like we're all here for the same reasons. It's because we love the ocean. Um, so, you know, just how do we get back to just being kinder to it?
Mhm.
Stop treating it like a freaking trash can. And I can't tell you the amount of plastic um that that I pick off, but well, not me. My kids pick up off our beach every day. That's one of their chores. With the amount of plastic compared to the amount of plastic that was around when I was a kid, um, I just like to see us do better. Um, there's some pricier things that we could do and some simple things. Like, why can't we get rid of plastic bags in Florida? You know, it doesn't seem like that would be like too far off. I mean, how many fish ingest them? How many like microplastics are just like simple common sense things that you'd think wouldn't
Right,
be like that big of a deal.
right,
Um, but um, I guess the best that I can hope for is just try to do my best to lead by example. And I F up plenty of times throughout all of that. But especially for the next generation of anglers, um, we don't we don't want them to lose their humanity because computers and screens are just such a big part of everything these days.
right. It's a huge part, and
So
the advancement of a like a 12-year-old right now that really studies fishing is amazing. From what I get kids that come on the boat that have never like they know how to work electric reels and they've never like have worked an electric reel before because they know they're going to be using it and they study it on YouTube.
mhm.
And I'm like, holy man, what's going on here? It's like, yeah, we know how to do all that. Let's just get back. And I'm like, okay, here, it's all yours, bro.
Okay.
It's all yours,
Yep.
dude. Get right in there and catch them. And they
Yep.
do it. They know when to start it and stop it. They understand the technique of the drags without having to think too much. Um, and and they really, I think that's an amazing tool for them because with that, there's the platforms for educating them on taking care of the environment. Because if they're paying that much attention to how to do this, and then that's why I'm super excited for the show, is that it's going to incorporate all that stuff that's embodied into your heart, into your dad's heart, into the show, and I think that this is what the sport fishing world needs. I really do. I feel it needs to be grounded back to a version of the old school with the new school and where we're going in the future. And I think this is,
Yeah.
I think that's where all the TV shows and all the influencers should go. Not just one, but I think there's always going to be one that needs to lead before the others follow. And that's how it usually goes. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I have I think that this is, I think your show is going to be it. So I'm going to do my part to get the word out and with my clients and people that are in my communities, and then they'll share with everybody. And we want to just keep I think it's just an amazing thing that you do,
Thank you,
and
Ryan.
anything that we can do to help, we're going to do. So, um, So I think we'll wrap it up, guys. So in the show notes we'll have all the information where you guys can get signed up for the shark fishing tournament and any other tournaments that are going to be set up in the future. Uh, and then Krissy, do you have anything else that you want to touch on before we sign off today?
Well, if you are coming through Big Pine Key at all, we do have a little modest office space right across the street from the Walgreens, and it's 30334 Overseas Highway, and it's a storefront slash mini Jose museum. So there's a lot of the awards, a lot of my dad's log books, flies that he tied, different. There's some like books that like Lefty had wrote to him, and just different like little pieces of Jose nostalgia throughout the years. I have a Super Bowl VIP pass, and I actually asked my dad about this before he died. I found it, and I was like, "Dad, you went to the Super Bowl?" He's like, "Oh no, honey, I didn't end up going. I don't like baseball." He knew he he knew everything and anything about fishing in the ocean or music, anything that had to do. I mean, he fished with Wade Boggs, Tim Wakefield. No clue what sport they played. No idea. Did multiple shows with them. They're like, well, they're white, skinny guys, so like, I don't know, not basketball. Like, um, so there's just like some, cool little things like that throughout. And it's a small space, but it's a cool spot that, like, if you want to pick up a Spanish Fly T-shirt and look at some nostalgia stuff from back in the day, it's there, and we're there.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to I didn't even know that he'd had that. So that's amazing because we're going to come down for the shark tournament for the dinner and then cover that
Are you
for
guys fishing
everything.
it?
No, I'm not going to be able to fish it, but we're going to come
Okay,
down for it and then I'm going to this do some coverage there
awesome,
and then talk about it and then start building the buzz for next year, and then the other events that you guys are gonna have going on. So, but Melinda and I are gonna come down and do what we can to participate and donate and be there to support. Even though I can't
awesome.
fish it because I've got to work and which is a good thing in the charter boat fishing industry is work is very
Yeah.
good.
Yes. Work is good.
Work is very good. You work when
Yeah.
you can work.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so we'll be down for it and look forward to meeting you in person and then enjoying a nice time and then watching seeing how it works. So um,
Awesome.
but yeah, so I really thank you for coming on today. Like I said, guys, I'll
Yeah.
have all the information in the show notes for you guys to check out the foundation, links for the shark fishing tournaments and anything all the other events as well. And then, and Krissy, what's the website that they can visit for the foundation as far as
The foundation website is josewejebefoundation.org. Wejebe is Wejebe, B as in boy, E. Um, and then if you want to pick up any apparel, that's SpanishFlyTV.com. And if you want to register for the shark tournament, that is KeyWestSharkTournament.com. And then
perfect?
our handle on YouTube is Spanish Fly TV.
Okay,
And we have quite a bit uploaded onto YouTube. I try to upload a video a week, but it's just been so crazy busy lately.
sure.
So I've been a little bit behind on that, but once we get through this last event, I'll be able to get back on that train.
Awesome. Awesome. So
Yeah.
that's great. So we're gonna sign off. And guys, thank you all for tuning in today. Super excited. Like I said, I was pretty nervous. So it's been I'm just excited that you're to be able to talk to you and share the information about what's coming up here in 2026 and the foundation. So make sure you guys go and, like I said, get involved with the shark tournament if you can. I know a lot of you guys like to participate in the tournament series, and you guys are probably missing out on this one. So get signed up. So that's it, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, anytime you're fishing, it's all good. Thank you, Krissy.
Thank you, Ryan.